Hey everybody, Redneck Reloader here. A little different environment today. I'm at my kitchen table instead of out in the shop. I was going to take you out there for this, but for what I'm going to cover, I said I can do it in here, and it's a little more comfortable, air conditioning in here. So I had a little mishap today. I wasn't planning on making this video. I went out early this morning, did a little reloading, and playing was my 40 cal. I went out hiking yesterday and I found a bunch of brass and I processed it and had a bunch of 40 cal brass in there. And I decided to load some up today and go out and shooting. And I was using unique powder, which I used to use a lot of, and I haven't used it much in the past year because when the ammo apocalypse hit back in early 2020, unique disappeared off the shelves quick. And I managed to find some tight group and some HS6 and some green dot, and I got those for loading pistol, and those are what's got me through all of 2020 into 2021. So, and I just had a half a pound of unique that I've just been sitting on. But went to my reloading store the other day, and they have all kinds of powder. Even had some primers on the shelf, only large pistol primers, but they are starting to get some primers. So, but powder, you can get about whatever you want. So I got some H335 the other day from my AR-15, and I got another pound of tight group. So they didn't have any unique yet, but I know it's going to come back on the shelf, and I may or may not go back to it. So anyway, I was going to use up that other half pound I had, so I just decided to start using it. So I used it today, and I worked up some loads with my 40 Smith & Wesson. And I went out to shoot them using that brass that I'd found hiking yesterday. So loaded 15 rounds, went out, shot the first one, no problem. Shot the second one, and all hell broke loose. I thought basically my gun had blown up in my hand. That's what it felt like. Blew back my face, singed my hand. My hand went numb. You know, that feeling of when you were a kid, if you set off a firecracker and you have it in your hand, that numbness, and you know, luckily no blood, a few little burn marks. All my fingers were still there. Gun was jammed with a stovepipe, failure to feed. And so after I collected my wits, I ejected my magazine, and it just blew to pieces. The floor plate had blown off of it. Spring came out. All the rounds that I had dumped out on the ground. I mean, everything was just gone. So after I collected my thoughts, went back and looked, the gun was okay, and that was my second concern after me. But and it was a Glock, 40 cal Glock. It's fine, and thought the magazine was broken. But after I got home and I was looking at it, had all the pieces and put them back together, and it was fine. It apparently just had blown the floor plate off of it, but you know, where it's a plastic mag, plastic floor plate, I guess it just flexed and popped off. I was able to put it back together, and the magazine seems like it's fine. So I went back and did a little forensic analysis to try to figure out what's wrong, and I think I figured it out, but that's what I wanted to share with y'all today. I think it was just a bad piece of brass. I think I had a couple bad ones, because what happened was, after that happened, I was a little shook, and I thought I've done something wrong. These were hot loads. I'll admit them. They were up on the high end, about the maximum, but they weren't beyond. And you know, I looked at the primers, and there was no high pressure marks or anything. And I kind of second guessed myself, but then I kind of collected myself, and I said, I know those rounds are not hot. So then not too hot. And then I thought, maybe it was a double charge, but there's no way, because I checked them closely, and I wasn't using a powder throw or anything. I weighed out every one of these because I knew I was bringing them right up to the max. And they were using unique. And I remember I've been using tight group so much the past year with 40 cal. I remembered when I was loading these thinking, wow, there's no way you could do a double charge, because there was like 3/4 of the way up the case full. So a double charge would flow over. And I inspected every one to make sure that they all had about the same amount of powder in them. So I knew it wasn't a double charge. So I said, I'm going to shoot the rest of these. Now, I didn't have a magazine because I didn't bring a spare with me. I wasn't going up there to do a lot of shooting. I was just taking my gun and those 15 rounds just to shoot those. And so I just racked it, dropped one in, and shot it without a magazine. Second round went off, and the case split the whole length. It fired okay, but when I got the ejection, when I ejected and looked at it, the whole case split from the rim all the way down to the base. And I thought, oh shit, something's wrong with my gun. It's, damage to the chamber or something, And I thought, I'd looked at it and took the barrel out and looked at it, didn't see anything wrong. And I said, I'm going to try it again. So I shot the other 13 rounds and they all went off flawlessly. No problems whatsoever, no problems with the cases. Now, the brass that split, I kind of got disgusted when it came out and it was split, and I was mad and I just chucked it in the weeds. And then I went back looking for it. I wish I'd saved it, and I couldn't find it. So, but the one that blew out on me was an Aguila. And I had several Aguila cases, and I remember just as I was going through and cleaning them up and looking at the head stamps that there was a few Aguilas in there. And I suspect that second case was also an Aguila. And I think that's what the problem was. Now, I do run a Glock, and you can get what you call Glock bulge. And I'm going to show you this case that blew out, and I'm also going to show you an example of Glock bulge. And I thought that could have been it, except I've never gotten Glock bulge, even though I have a Glock, and it's an older one, and it's those early generation ones that had a problem, especially in 40 cal. But I've never had that problem with mine, so I don't think that's what it was. And I'm going to tell you why here in a minute. But let me get these cases and show you. So this is a case that gave me my headache today, and if you look, you can see light right through it. That back end of it blew out, and it was at the bottom where it's unsupported. And so what that effect had was it blew all that gas right down my magazine, and that's what blew the floor plate out of that magazine. Was all that gas being directed down. So it did blow out in the section that isn't well supported in the chamber. But I've never had any other cases do that. And if you don't know what Glock bulge is, here is an example of it in a 45 that I found. When I forget these, I just set them to the side. You can buy special dies, I reckon, to take these out, but I don't fool with it. But you can see, I've also heard it called the Glock smile because of the way it's kind of shaped there, but you can kind of make it out. It's just an area where the case is not well supported. So when you fire it, you get bulging in that area of the brass. And that's kind of what it looks like where it blew out, but like I said, I've never had that in my gun before. Now, as part of my experiment, one of the things that I was doing was I had an aluminum case that I reloaded. Now, this is not it, but I'm going to show you. This is another case that I fired, and you can see it has no signs of any Glock bulge on it. But I have reloaded aluminum case before. I did a video on it, but it's always been 9mm. And when I was walking yesterday, I found this aluminum case, and it looked like a brand new aluminum case, like a real shiny one. It hadn't been up there in the weather for long or anything. And I've never reloaded an aluminum 40, so that was part of my experiment today. So I'm going to see how that does. So I reloaded it. So I shot it, and it's perfect. It didn't split. There's no damage. I could load that again if I wanted to. So if any case was going to bulge and blow out, I would have expected it to be that one. But it didn't. So I wish I had saved that other piece of brass that blew out, but I'm pretty sure it was probably another one of those Aguilas. Just as a general rule of thumb, I don't usually load stuff very hot. I tend to kind of keep my loads a little more sedate. I don't know why I decided to load them hot today, but like I said, I didn't go over. They were still within range. They were just hotter than what I normally run. I won't do that again, but if I do decide to load any more hot rounds, I don't think I'm going to use that Aguila brass anymore. I wasn't real impressed with that, but definitely will probably back my charges down a little bit, especially in that Glock. But just a word to the wise. Like I said, the primers and stuff, there's no overpressure signs or anything on them. They look good. I don't think the loads were too hot. I just think that this was just a bad piece of brass. It was just weak in that one area. So I've heard a lot of stuff online about a Gila brass being pretty crappy brass. I've never paid attention to it because I've loaded it and I've never had any problems with it till today. But I learned from that one. But thank God nothing was damaged. I'm fine. My gun's fine. I even got my magazine put back together with no problems, and it seems to be fine. So just a lesson learned. But just wanted to share that with y'all. So God bless and stay safe. Take good care of yourself.